If you browse the mods for any of the Resident Evil games with the adult filter off, it's easy to see that this fanbase really is just a bunch of gooners. So then it's no wonder that horror games with explicit sexual content has become its own niche on Steam. But there is one game in particular that is notorious as being the Resident Evil Gooner game. Chinese studio Metal Star combined the outfit customization of Roblox Dress to Impress with the survival horror of Resident Evil, all with a protagonist named Jodie, who you could make look pretty much however you want. So with very positive reviews on Steam, I sought to answer the question, is this actually a good game? Or is it simply Gooner bait, disguised in a Resident Evil skin? We start off in Jodie's 3-bed penthouse in the downtown area of a Chinese city. A telltale sign that we are in China is the thick pollution lingering over the skyline. She has a fold-out TV on the wall of her office where I can sit and enjoy the news, but unfortunately it's all in Mandarin, and I've always been more of a Clementine guy myself. In her apartment, we can enhance our survival horror experience by watching Jodie work out. On the wall of her gym, I noticed that despite only looking 26, Jodie has won a World Cup, become Lara Croft, and Katniss Everdeen, all in her adult life. Not wanting to sustain a hamstring injury, I head out of the gym and go over to the closet where the residents aren't evil, but the eye makeup is serving. Here we can choose things like Jodie's fit, her hair, her makeup, and most importantly, give her a manicure. Maximizing the tit slider for educational purposes, I don't actually keep it at that size because honestly, it just looks uncomfortable. After changing her eyeshadow and painting her nails, I decide it's time to head out to the biochemical research lab for a fun family day out. Upon arrival, it appears that we may have got the address wrong as my tour guide is nowhere to be seen, and every time I try to bring up my map, Jodie decides it's time to throw some arse. Fabrizio Romano has proven that journalistic integrity is dead with his repeated posts about Mason Greenwood, so Jodie whips out her phone and begins snapping pictures of all of this mess. However, this quickly turns from a few busted up computers to something truly tragic. 2 men deceased on the floor. They came into work today, kissed their family goodbye, and had no idea they wouldn't see them again. Venturing further into the lab, one of these bodies came back to life, but much like dealing with the crackhead who waits for me outside Tesco to nick my slow-roasted gammon, the best way to deal with this man is with force. Sporting the bone density of 1-ply toilet roll, the zombie folds immediately, but proceeds to rise once more, so I dispatch a swift knife attack straight to the back of the skull. Turning around, I found a dartboard where I can practice my knife throws, which, if it's anything like my dark aim after a few beers, was more likely to end up in someone's face than it was to hit a single triple 20. Through the corridor of the only other room that was open, I ended more zombies' lives with my axe and find a code-locked safe. Searching far and wide, I eventually discover that the hidden code was written in Deluxe brilliant white paint on the wall about 12 feet away from the safe. I guess privacy isn't really a concern in China due to the government's 24/7 monitoring in the smart toilets that track you using arse-cheek DNA. Speaking of DNA, I was going to be taking samples of the zombies' genetic makeup via a pistol bullet to the knee. Kneecapping these zombies turns them into the well-known crawlers from the Call of Duty zombies that I have spent hours training around the map while my friends had all the fun and did the Easter egg. Now disabled, I decided to save these zombies from the extenuous pip application process, which was an endless cycle of redirected calls, ending in you cursing out some guy in Mumbai who was just trying to fuel his career of being an Indian YouTuber who always has the answers to your most obscure tech problems. Finding the yellow star keycard, which opens up the doors that require the yellow star keycard behind door number 1, is our first save room, which comes with a bed that makes Auschwitz accommodation look like luxury, and our first new clothing item, a crop top. With a save made, I head back out to discover that as well as the regular zombies roaming the halls, someone had let the bald vampires from I Am Legend out of Will Smith's basement. Despite looking like they were in the 4th stage of leukemia, they were surprisingly acrobatic, scaling the walls and diving into your face like a human-sized housefly. So far, I hadn't really seen too big of a reason to call this a Gooner game outside of the absurdly large tits you can equip Jodie with. However, walking up to this door, I started to hear something that would make me begin to question that. With the noises coming from behind that door, I knew I needed to get in there immediately. It sounded like someone had fallen and scraped their knee, which can get infected if not tended to quickly. With the door being locked, I have to go the parkour way in. Once inside, I use my subsonic hearing to track the questionable noise to another door. This one is also locked, but with a key code, and with the chances of me guessing it being about as unlikely as my bananas staying ripe for more than 12 hours, I had to figure out another way in. Not before sustaining a traumatic brain injury though, from the zombies busting down a 50-kilogram industrial metal door straight onto Jodie's head. Finding a nearby office, I hop on a computer, because no one has 2FA around here, where I find an email sent out on April 1st detailing an April Fool's joke by someone named Dr. Ryan. Now, despite the generational aura loss as the main villain's name being Dr. Ryan, we can see that he released samples of something called the Bing chilling virus. However, the cure that he had for the virus to put this April Fool's prank to bed completely backfired and did not work as intended, so now the whole lab had slowly fallen into chaos. If there's one thing that makes me angrier than every time I remember women have periods, it's prank YouTubers. So now I had one main goal.
Compromise to a permanent end.
Dr. Ryan. I found another save room that came with a new skirt, and so I made the rule of having to wear every new piece of clothing that I find. Oh, and what do you know? I've also got a new pair of headphones in my backpack. This message is sponsored by Raycon. My mum loves listening to music, but she's also nearly 60, so in-ear headphones have never been her thing. That's why Raycon's bone conduction headphones are the perfect gift for her this Mother's Day. They sit just outside the ears, so she doesn't have to deal with any uncomfortable in-ear feeling, all while still hearing what's going on around her. It's a great Mother's Day gift, and honestly, you might want to grab yourself a pair too, and right now you can get them for 15% off. Raycon's bone conduction headphones use an off-ear audio, sending sound through vibrations in your bones. Your ears can stay open to the world around you while you still get crystal clear music, podcasts or calls. They're built for all-day use with 13 hours of battery life, IP68 waterproof and dustproof, perfect for sweat, rain and even sandy beach runs, plus a no-bud fit that doesn't slip, ensuring maximum comfort while you move. My mum's been using them every time she takes her dog out for a walk, and I've been using them pretty much every day since I got them, whether I'm at the gym, running errands, or just working from home. They're the ones I reach for over my other earbuds because I can still hear what's going on around me without sacrificing sound quality. Honestly, they've just become a part of my daily routine. So you can celebrate the mums in your life. Click the link in the description box or go to buyraycon.com/voybc to get 15% off the bone conduction headphones. Thank you to Raycon for sponsoring this video. I continued on the long, maze-like corridors of this facility, still causing havoc with Jodie's axe. I even took both the arms off one of the zombies, so he was just like my ex, all head. Remembering that I had a pistol, I begin John Wicking everyone in my path for the next few minutes. I don't know why, but whenever I play survival horror games, I never use the best items. I get scared about saving ammo for the best guns, like I'm saving for my kids' college fund, but then I end the game having only used about 2% of the available ammo. The moral of the story here is, don't save for your kids' college fund, spend their money now and let them figure out their future. As we get deeper into the lab, I begin to see why this is called a Resident Evil clone, because the architecture of this building makes about as much sense as the dentist charging me 350 quid for a filling. Wishing I had a map because I was more lost than a young man in the Aokigahara forest, I eventually found a vent that was sure to lead me to some answers. Camping out in the vent was the homeless population of Ealing, where the lighting of this vent wasn't doing these baldies any favours, as they looked like expired ground chicken. Once out of the vent, we were once again taking serious damage to the head as another zombie breaks down a door on Jodie's face. It would appear that their counter to my guns and axes is to give Jodie CTE. Finding another save room, our latest clothing item was a pair of 6-inch high heels. How do I know that they were 6 inches, you ask? I just looked at them and then times my own penis length by 2. With Jodie's Achilles now edging a rupture from the blisters these heels were going to give her, I find another office where someone left a revolver just lying on the desk. Leaving a revolver on your desk may seem odd, but it's also the same thing that I do, so I could play a cheeky game of Russian roulette every time my new video is a 10 out of 10. Here I also find a new necklace, a white shirt just around the corner, and a backpack laying on a bench. We're starting to look a little bit too much like we're going to school. Ignoring the potential nonce accusations that were about to be coming my way, I head back into the office where we can reset the key code on the room where the strange noises were coming from. As we go to exit the office though, the zombies proceed to apply a highline press right up to Jodie's neckline in high numbers. Beating the press like prime Sergio Busquets, we get back to the room and discover what those noises really were. A bald spitter zombie. After decapitating her and leaving her arse up in the most disgraced position possible, Jodie then apologizes for being too late. You know, Jodie, I don't think you get to be sentimental when you have left her ass up looking like a swashsticker. Ditching the backpack because I felt a little bit too uncomfortable and it was also taking up about 90% of my screen space, I now have the Blue Man keycard, which opens doors that require the Blue Man keycard. Behind the Blue Man keycard doors though was a little surprise I was not expecting. Right, blue keycard, Blue Man keycard. I'm in. Hello. Fucking hell! Why is there warnings for a mine? Why is there mines in this place in the first place? Right, I'm prepared for a landmine on the other side of the door now. Yeah, there's one. Come on. There we go. I can use it to bait zombies into it. Alright, we've got the team conference room. With a load of... Oh, shit! Okay, there's another one. Oh, my... After receiving the same treatment of an average soldier on tour in Afghanistan back in 2010, Jodie now had a new perspective on life. The landmines had redirected her priorities, and she made the brave decision to have a shower. Unfortunately, on my path to finding these showers, there was a big problem blocking it, and it was the fire bursting from a gas pipe. The zombie laying next to the fire was attempting a DIY bollock hair removal, using all of that fire to singe the hairs off. I was going to have to stop this though, so I headed down to the basement, where I found that the valve needed to shut off the gas was missing. Popping over to the main control room, I sustain another blow to the head from a collapsing door, and that early onset dementia is going to hit Jodie very soon. Down here, I do find a valve that I can use, but I also spot a little secret toy plane on top of one of the tanks. Using an old school gamer strategy called a strafe jump, I miss the gap and explode both of Jodie's knees in the process. I also acquired some booty shorts while I was down here, and this outfit is beginning to look pretty fire. Given how dirty Jodie looked, I did actually start to come around to the idea of a shower given that sepsis was beginning to become a possibility. That was until I saw where the showers were located. Having PTSD flashbacks, it took me a moment to realise why this place made me feel so uncomfortable, until I remembered. It looked exactly like the prison section from Outlast. The insanity run I did on that game had the whole map seared into my brain, so much so that I could walk it in my sleep. Heading up to these showers, the Gooners were beginning to get excited at the thought of a Jodie news scene. However, they would be blueballed for a little longer, as the shower water pressure was about as intense as getting spat on by a llama. So I had to head all the way back down to the basement, collect the valve I'd used for the gas pump, hook it up to the water pump and get it up and running again. Speaking of running, the zombies had also now leveled up as they combined their strategy to give Jodie CTE with sprinting. Sprinting zombies wasn't going to be the thing that fucked up my return trip to the showers though. That trophy would go to a new kind of zombie, the Screamer. A copy and paste of the witch from Left 4 Dead, this Screamer zombie would cry until you got close to her or made too much noise. As soon as she was awake, escaping her was like escaping North Korea as she relentlessly hunted us down. I'm coming in with another idea now. I'm going to simply place a landmine between me and her. Landmine or bust. It appears to be bust, but I imagine I will not be the first person busting while playing this game. Give me a second to use the door. I'm going to shut you in there, and she can indeed use doors. Alright, this is bad news for me. Every new, convoluted theory I came up with was proving to inflict more and more pain on myself. So remembering that this is indeed an RE clone at the end of the day, I went for the proven tactic of less is more. By simply sprinting through the Black Friday shoppers trying to secure a new TV while beating down pensioners, I make my way all the way to the showers, finally giving the Gooners the payoff they had been waiting for. That is until Jodie's day goes even further down the shitter, as bursting through the wall like the Kool-Aid guy was this thing. Unsure of what kind of genetic modification could have made this thing, I considered for a moment that this may turn into a bestiality lovemaking game, but the only load this thing would be dropping on Jodie's face was the full mass of its body weight. I'm gone. Oh, he fell on my head, bro. Luckily for us, we had the world's stickiest towel, as it refused to let go of Jodie when we did a full court dash across the changing rooms. Slipping into a vent where the girth of this monster was too much to allow it to follow us, we now were on the other side and safe. But the only thing is, we had to deal with zombies and we had no weapons. Alright, let's see if we can sneak past the landmine this time. Stumbling across a new save room, it would appear that this wasn't a safe room, as the zombies didn't know the contractual obligations of safe rooms, which is, you stay the fuck outside. Terminating these 2 workplace violations with a curb stomp each, I was provided with the leg of the special, and could now make my way out of here, while remaining undetected. Undetected, yes, but not completely unaffected, as I get myself stuck step row in an industrial fan that proceeds to turn my body parts into something you'd see on the Sainsbury's deli counter. So on my second, third, probably 9th attempt, I this time roll correctly and make it to the other side. Murder was still on the cards though, except this time it may be us on the receiving end, as there was now other humans in the lab. A group of militia had taken various lab workers and were executing them for reasons yet unknown. Taking the stance of shoot first, ask questions later, I take out the humans with my bow, pick up his gun and begin hitting headshots. Being the highest rank in Valorant, Gold 3, I rarely missed a shot. With the humans dead, I find a nearby save room where we would not be provided with a new clothing item, but I would make a subtle change to Jodie's appearance. Alright, let's go, I'm ready. I definitely didn't change anything in Jodie's settings or anything about her outfit that I was wearing. Quickly finding a new dress, I could ditch the towel, but I'm honestly not sure if this dress has any more material on it than the towel did. I find some more human men who I'm starting to think may not actually be a militia and might just be some bisexual Dutchmen who have lost their girlfriends at a rave, because 80% of them are bald and shirtless. Their girlfriends do eventually come in from the smoking area in the form of spitter zombies, as I just take my seat in the cuck hallway and watch this all unfold, as there was no need for me to interrupt. Coming across another code lock that I definitely spend the time to figure out myself, I entered a room that felt like an episode of Antiques Roadshow. A pristine 1990s marble sharp-edged gorilla was snatched up quickly before I found a briefcase full of cash. Cash? In this society? Stepping into another cutscene, I find more bald men. I was beginning to think that we were dealing with a case of cloning, but my attention was quickly drawn elsewhere. Alex Pereira, the MMA fighter, is now threatening us at gunpoint here. Whoa! We've transformed! Red eyes, we can just tank bullets like it's nothing. Taken his arm off! Oh my god! He's gone. Destroy that, whatever that was. Probably liquid roofie. Oh, and speaking of roofs, we've just fallen from the height of one to the bottom of the staircase. Genuinely, what the fuck did just happen? Now needing spinal reconstruction surgery from that fall, Jodie had lost all of her weapons, apart from the 2 big ones on her chest. Where we had fallen looked like a crack den where you go to pick up some weed, but there's a heroin addict trying to sell you a bike chain. Rejecting this geezer's offer to buy the bike chain from him, the addict then becomes hostile, and I use slightly more than necessary force to dispatch of him with a grenade straight to the face. Using another grenade to open up a small crack in the wall, I break into a conveniently placed armory where I find a new pistol and other supplies. I'd be needing these supplies because down here, now my biggest threat wasn't even the heroin addicts with bones made of paper plates. It was something completely different. Facehuggers were now an immediate threat. Or they would have been if they didn't die to one pistol bullet. Continuing to explore the remnants of what looks like a UK new build, I find a high-vis jacket. Now, out of all the outfits that Jodie has worn so far, the high-vis jacket may be my favourite, because there's nothing more attractive than a woman practicing workplace health and safety. Now with permission to go anywhere I pleased, I broke into the local council's new build meeting, where property owners were discussing the possibility of making some new builds using porridge oats. I quickly put a stop to all that chat, and then nearby I also found where all the locals on the social housing waitlist had got to. Making my way up to the 4th floor of the lab, the look of the lab takes a turn. No more with the crack den, as we had now upgraded to an umbrella-like underground facility level of cleanliness. Up here I also discovered a vending machine where I could buy various items using the cash I had been finding. One of these items was milk, so we can make sure to get our calcium levels up to maintain strong bones and teeth. I purchased a shotgun because the best way to test the quality of a survival horror game is based on how effective the shotgun is at separating limbs from bodies. I hop in another nice hot shower for no other reason than Jodie just seems to be very conscious about having human remains mixed with her Charlotte Tilbury sun-kissed glow bronzer. Now out of the shower, I decide to change up Jodie's hairstyle as I restyle this ponytail to the raging lesbian, also known as the Jill Valentine from RE3. Setting back out on my mission to find this Dr. Ryan bloke, I notice a crack in the wall on the 4th floor. Alright, okay, I think, wait, maybe. Perhaps if I can cook a grenade. How about if we can arc a grenade up and then bring it back down? Returning to the vending machine with my own intellectual perception damaged, I sell my AR to provide me with the funds to buy a bow and explosive arrows. This felt like more of a rip-off than the bloke at CEX who smells like Monster Energy and sweat, offering me 40 quid store credit for my 5090. Back at the crack, I tear it down like the Berlin Wall and penetrate eastern Germany, where I find a few Soviet operatives still on a covert mission. Finally getting to test my shotgun, I can confirm that it hits harder than the blowback from the air puff test at the opticians. Hiding away in a small bookcase, I found some John Lennon glasses, which I think would have made him proud. When he made those round rims famous, I believe he always had a dream, picturing girls in survival horror Gooner dress-up games wearing them. The resistance here in the east was heavy, and some zombies had even developed new attacking techniques like the Foxy screen dive from Five Nights at Freddy's. With more cash collected, I now had enough money to buy back my AR and even buy some SMG too. Some SMG? I bought the whole SMG, I didn't buy part of it. Finding the orange keycard, which unlocks the doors that require the orange keycard, I made my way up to the top of the shower room. I remembered that my objective was to find my backpack, which I left in the showers, but unfortunately, where there are showers, there is also the witch. Giving me tinnitus with her screams and box-jumping entire floors, her power was truly unknown. It was lucky then that, just like a Jehovah's Witness, discharging around 15 AR bullets directly into their face will solve the problem. After curb stomping the witch multiple times to ensure she really was dead, I come across another vending machine, but this one isn't stocking milk and explosive rounds. It's stocking new clothing items. The price of all of this stuff was absolutely outrageous. I mean, I could buy 4 GB of RAM for as much as this choker cost. With limited cash, I settled on these pink trousers that looked like they had been made out of a shower curtain, and then proceeded to get very lost. Once again, I pressed M on my keyboard to bring up a map, but remembered that all it made Jodie do was throw arse. You know, I'm really glad the devs have focused on gameplay features that are vital to the experience. Who really needs a map at the end of the day when Jodie can just show you the way with the way that those hips don't lie? Eventually finding my way to a new save room, I make another change to Jodie's appearance, this time re-equipping her high-vis jacket. Now looking like she was ready to be doing some midnight roadworks on the M25, I made my way down a couple of floors to find my first human since falling into a crack den. Giving him no time to explain himself, we shoot him straight in the face and then find a doctor in the adjoining room. Hostage, hello. He's given us his keycard. Whoa! He's gone. Oh! Well, looks like it's boss time. Okay, I've nearly killed myself more than the boss, but don't worry. Okay, no wait, do actually worry. Do worry a lot, because my life is over. Our first boss fight had begun with something that the virus had mutated to have 2 claw arms and spinal posture that looked worse than mine after a 10-hour editing session. After our small mishap on attempt 1, attempt 2 saw me defeat him as he dropped the white keycard on his death. On our way out, we made sure to check the pulse of the doctor, who we saw get disemboweled just 2 minutes beforehand, to confirm that he was, in fact, dead. Yeah, I feel like I could have told you that one, Jodie. Making my way back down to the basement level of the lab, it would appear that there was an even deeper level that completely averted my eyes. Do believe I can maybe drop down here. I am low on health, so yeah, that proved to be a pretty stupid decision on my part, but I think that was the only thing. Okay, I've dropped again through another hole that honestly snuck up on me. I did not see that one coming. Being the first person to ever die from an 8-foot drop, the only thing I could put this down to was the size of Jodie's breasts simply being so large that the added gravity of that fall shattered every bone and organ in her body. Deciding this time to head the opposite way, I go all the way to floor 5, the very tip of this lab, but what it reveals to me is that the devs are still working on this floor. After a short-lived Jet 2 holiday upstairs, I go back down to the basement level, where I find something named an Eradicator. Quickly testing, I could see that this deletes zombies in the blink of an eye like drone warfare, and this was all in preparation for my next mission objective. I had to get down to the next level in the basement, but blocking my path were 3 broken generators. Finding my way to the control room, I had to manually reset all 3, which in turn made a lot of noise and attracted every zombie nearby, like Florida men to smelling salts. To prepare for this, I had to arm up this room like I was playing World at War Zombies with a little bit of balloon tower defense sprinkled in there, holding off 3 waves of relentless zombies as they broke down on my barriers and automatic weapons started to die off. Ending the 3 waves with just enough ammo, I collected a load of cash from all the dead zombies and spent it on copious amounts of milk. Back at the control room, I could now enable access to Floor X, the secret lab inside the already secret underground lab. I hopped inside the elevator and made my way towards finding Dr. Ryan. Ryan. We're coming for you, Ryan. You're done for, Ryan. You fraud. The Gooner Resident Evil clone. Was it still a good survival horror game without the Gooner elements? Probably not, but the dress-up features and customization is quite fun. This was meant to be part of another RE clones video, but I just thought I'd make it its own thing. I feel like it deserved its own video for being so notorious. So I had other footage of RE clone games, which I didn't know what to do with now that that video had been abandoned, so I decided to just throw them all up on my Patreon. If you want to see that, and if you have any interest in seeing me play other RE clones or finding new RE clones, you can head to the link into my description, the Patreon's down there, and find that video. I'll be back with more masochistic challenges very soon, and in the meantime, I'm going to go back and collect all those outfits and play Dress Up with Jodie. Whoa!